So I want to have a quick conversation because something is really starting to irritate my fucking nerves. And it's the Stan Van Gundy interview with Zach Lowe. And I just want to break this down because a lot of people are pissing a fit about his conversation and particularly what he was saying about uh, Lonzo Ball. And I get it. There's a lot of us who are fans of ZO2 and everything, and I completely get that. But people are taking his comments way too far or way too literal, and they didn't actually listen to the conversation or the context of the conversation. So people are going in about him talking about, okay, Lonzo, he don't see what's the problem of Lonzo basically standing still and shooting threes. Now, the whole context of this conversation is him talking about Lonzo Ball in a nutshell, his strengths and his weaknesses. And this is, keep in mind, this is also prior to the bubble, right? In the conversation, he outlined his skills or his skill set or his skill sets because he's a hybrid player, kind of. And he talked about his length, his IQ, his passing, his unselfish nature. He talked about the 3-point shooting, the improved three ball. He mentioned that stuff in as far as to say, okay, this is what he does well. He also said the stuff that Zoe needs to improve on, or where his development comes, is shooting off the dribble or finishing at the rim. You know, being able to attack off of either hand and put together these combinations to break down your defenders. He didn't say the last little bit of that, but basically that's what he's implying. So he was saying, in context here, with the team, how Zoe fits, he was like, because he can't do certain things right now, there's no problem in having Lonzo not have the bulk of the ball handling responsibilities because he can't effectively attack off of it. Basically, what he was trying to say was Lonzo isn't the best guy on the team. He's not the offensive threat on the team. That's Zion and Bi. On any major team, your best guys have the ball in their hand. Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson. They'll be the best guys on this team. But to give you, frame of reference, Kyrie, LeBron, KD, Luka, Harden, all your best guys are going to have the ball in their hand. What he's saying is there's other ball handlers on the team, right? But the main thing is Zion and Bi need to have the ball in their hand. We can all agree with that, right? They do need the ball because they do need to play, make their plays, and they need to score, correct? Correct. Okay. He was talking about Lonzo specifically, how to because okay, with Lonzo he was saying, and I don't want to hear any bullshit from any of y'all because I've talked to a lot of y'all. We know Lonzo don't attack the rim. He ain't aggressive enough. That's the conversation we constantly have online. So he was talking about what defenses started doing with Lonzo is they didn't even bother guarding him off the pick and roll. When he started rolling to the basket, they was just going to take away the passing lanes. He was saying the way to alleviate that currently is to just have him stand and shoot threes. And you put the ball in Bi and Zion's hands in the pick and roll because you have to guard both of them. And he was basically saying you completely remove the whole they're doubling on Zion or doubling on Bi or in limiting what they could do by putting Lonzo outside so where he can knock down a jump shot. It alleviates the weakness of Lonzo in that Lonzo now you don't have to be concerned with him applying pressure to the other teammates by not actually scoring. In a nutshell, he's absolutely correct. Because if we're going to say here, okay, let's put it like this. You got a basketball team and you got KD and LeBron. And let's say we got Lonzo on the team. Who's going to have the ball more? KD, LeBron, or Lonzo? First of all, it's not going to be Lonzo. Let's just go ahead and be honest with it. He may bring the ball up some possessions, which is the same thing Steph Van Gundy is alluding to. He's not saying, okay, he's just going to stand there and shoot and do nothing else. No, that's not what he means. What he was saying, and he was really giving a compliment to what Lonzo could do as far as shooting the ball. He was saying Lonzo is such an effective shooter that until he can actually do those things he mentioned prior, shooting off the dribble, scoring at the basket effectively, it's better for the team to get the most out of Zion and BI if you have him spot up for jump shots, which he was already doing anyway. But there were some plays where Lonzo would be in a pick and roll, and because he wouldn't attack, he was applying a whole lot of extra pressure to BI and Zion, and lesser extent Drew and some of the others. He is not wrong. He is not wrong. Let's be honest. He is not wrong. Now, what you guys have to do is stop assuming he's just going to make Lonzo a spot-up shooter and that's all he's going to do. He is not saying that. He is saying, based on what Lonzo is today, and at that moment, that was July 20th or July 17th. It was back in July. Based on who he is at that moment, that's the best way to mitigate his weaknesses and get the best out of his offenses. And he was saying use him as a transition point guard. Same thing they're kind of trying to do with Ben Simmons with the 76ers. Obviously, you can tell this was from back then, right? So he's not saying, and he was saying this, you have to build offense around what the guys do. That was the context of the conversation. He's not saying that's all Lonzo is. He's saying what he is right now until he gets the other stuff, the ways that you bring the best out of the entire team, because keep in mind, this ain't just about ZO2. It's about the entire team. You have to take the ball out of his hands in the half court in the pick and roll because he's causing too much problems as far as congestion and attacking for the other guys with his unwillingness to attack and his inability to attack. Now, peep game. Let's assume, because we all seen it, ZO2 comes back, training camp. He's pulling up off the dribble. He's breaking down defenders. He's shooting mid-range. He's attacking the basket. What do you think Stan Van Gundy's going to do? Okay, I see my point guard has offensive game now. He can attack the rim. He can shoot the mid-range. Is he doing it in the games? Yes, he's doing it effectively. Okay, the issues he had back in July aren't here now. So now I have to adjust my game plan and the role based around that. What happens now? Zoa's going to run the offense. It's not like he's not running the offense anyway. He's going to run in transition. They want to get out and run. But you guys can't take away the ball from B.I. and Zion, too, just because we want Lonzo to run the offense. If you want this to be a Lonzo team, you got to get rid of some guys. That's number one. Number two, we all want Zion to develop. Zion is going to have to get possessions. He's going to have to get touches. He just can't sit there and play Stockton, Karl Malone and just, let me dump the ball off to you. No. If he's going to reach his potential, he has to have the ball. You guys can't get mad at the fact that he's going to put the ball in their hands or it's going to be out of Lonzo's hands. That's fine. Now, you may say, okay, it don't need to be in Drew's hands. Honestly, Drew's better attacking. And I don't even want Drew to have the ball more than Lonzo, but let's be honest. If they're going to run pick and roll in their offense, which every team does in the league, you're going to have a guard or whoever has the ball handler has to be able to be willing to attack. I'm sorry. It is what it is. And for people to be upset about this, it tells me a lot about how people think. He's not saying that's all Lonzo's ever going to be. He's not saying that if Lonzo doesn't improve, he won't do more as far as ball handling responsibilities. What he was doing was complimenting what he does well, saying this is how I would build an offense around the team itself, which is fine. And he's going to take in everybody's skill set. Now, the one place I disagree with him with is Zion Williamson being another ball handler. I don't think his handles is good enough for that yet. But is he going to get better by just sitting there and let Lonzo pass him every single thing? He's going to have to learn to run the offense. That's the whole point of drafting him number one. That's the whole point of trying to get him to be that superstar. You have to put more on his shoulders. If people want Lonzo to just have complete autonomy over an offense, Lonzo has to be traded. He has to go to a team that has nobody else better than him. Period. Because then he has to have the ball. He gets to make the bulk of the decisions, and he's going to get the ball every possession. Period. That's the only way it's going to happen. So you want him to go to Charlotte. Because let me tell you something. Even if we go send him to Chicago, they got Zach Lowe. He's the alpha. He's going to get the bulk of the touches. Period. And then they're going to have Wendell Carter Jr. and Larry Markkinen. They're going to have to get touches too because they're offensive threats. Which is why it's so important. This is why I've been hammering this to you guys since the offseason for the Pels started. He has to get in the lab and work on every shot. Every shot. Because just shooting threes limits the team. He has to be mid-range. He has to be floater. He has to be finishing at the basket. Even if his free throws ain't up yet. And he don't have to be 80 necessarily immediately. If he does, great. But the main thing is he has to be willing to take those shots when they're there. If the defense is going to give it to him, they're going to sag off him, pull up for the mid-range. If he starts shooting 50% from mid-range, what are they going to have to do? Now he can pass the ball and he can get more assists and he can still elevate his team. And that's how you play the game. It is. I'm sorry. Stan Van Gundy, let me just quit saying Steph. Stan Van Gundy was not lying. You guys need to get out of your feelings. Get out of your fifis, as they say. I know it hurts, but let's be honest. And this is what I'm here for. I'm not here to coddle you guys' emotions and feelings. I'm going to tell you the truth. Lonzo needs to work on that, and he is working on that. When he comes back when the season starts and he's able to do all that stuff, what do you think the offense is going to look like? They're going to put the ball in his hands more. It's still going to be in Zion's hands, which he needs it to develop. You can't just I think you guys think I could pass the ball to Zion for alley-oops every game, and that's going to work his career. He'll be an all-star because of that. No. If Zion has to develop handles, he has to develop a jump shot. He has to be able to carry that stuff on his own as the best player on a team. That's the expectation for him. How does he do that? He needs the goddamn ball in his hands. Now, you can say, okay, Lonzo could get him the ball, and that's fine. He can get him the ball in better positions, and that's great. But who's going to make the bulk of those scoring decisions? I'm sorry to tell you, it's not Lonzo. It's going to be Zion and B.I. because they're the ones that have to attack. Lonzo will help put them in positions to get the most out of that. But guess what? For Zion to score, he needs the ball. If you don't have the ball, you're not scoring. Period. You guys want... Because, see, here's the thing. Zion is averaging over 20. B.I. is averaging over 20. If you guys want Lonzo to average over 20, I'm going to tell you right now, there's almost no team historically that has three people scoring over 20. I believe the Warriors did with KD, Clay, and stuff, but I think Clay might have been at like 19-ish. Okay? And that was even with Clay, that was even with KD and Steph in the high 20s. Then you still got Drew Holiday on the team. I'm sorry to tell you this. The expectation or the thought process that Lonzo's going to sit up here and just jack up shots and get complete autonomy of the offense is not going to happen. It's not going to happen on this team. I'm sorry. And it don't matter if they had any semblance of a coach with any kind of level of intelligence. They would tell you Lonzo's not about to jack up 16, 17, 18, 19 shots a game. It doesn't matter what we think of him. That's not how you play winning ball. The ball has to be in the hands of your best players, period. And if you're going to sit here and say, I'm gonna do it like this. If you think Lonzo should have the ball in his hands more than Zi or Bi, well, Zi is for short for Zion. Zion and Bi, okay, let's do this. I guess we're gonna put the ball in the hands of Lonzo more than KD and Steph Curry if they're on the same team. That's basically what you're telling me. You got those guys, but Lonzo has to get more touches of the ball than them. he has to run the offense. No, it's not going to work. It's not how that works. Even on the Warriors, and Steph played off ball a lot. Ball was in his hands. Draymond got the ball and got the usage rate to just to pass the ball, but that wasn't like, okay, he was sitting there necessarily running the offense. The offense ran through Curry's gravity. And I'm going to tell you something, it's going to run through B.I. and Zion's gravity. Now, if Lonzo shocks us all, just let's just say this all season does tremendous work for him. He shows up, he's averaging 26 a game. Then I'm gonna tell you something. That now we're gonna have a conversation. We're gonna have a serious conversation. And if he can come up there and do that, which nobody's expecting, I don't think anybody here is expecting Lonzo to come over and average 25, 10, and 8. Which means he would be better than B.I. was last year and Zion. And he would be better than both of them were projected to be this year. I don't see it happening. I really don't. Despite, like, you don't just get that in 1 year. That's typically, like, you get a couple of points, but you don't have, like, a damn near 150% increase on everything. That don't happen. I'm literally trying to sit here and think of a player that went from, like, 10 points to 25 in a season. And I'm running a blank. Maybe there is, but that's more, like, again, that's rare. So that's the only way Lonzo is going to get that. And I'm going to tell you something. If Lonzo could do that, then they're going to have some decisions to make. Because if Lonzo could do all that by himself, they may trade B.I. And if Zion becomes an injury-prone thing, they may trade Zion. But that would have to happen to have them three coexist like that long term, because Zion is the number one pick. That nigga gonna want his money. B.I. wants his money. He complained about not getting his money. Lonzo's talking about getting money. You can't keep 3 all-star level players like that and have, like, a great roster. You're gonna end up with a bunch of role players and stuff. I'm sorry, like, that suck. Like, you're going to lose Josh Hart at that point. You're not going to have a Jackson Hayes. You're not going to have a J.J. Redick or Drew Holidays or any of these other vets, you know, Sabonis. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Millsap, Danny Green before he fell off, you know, the Morris twins. I'm trying to throw out even more support. Powell. Steven Adams. I'm just throwing out guys. You won't be able to get guys like that. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm telling you guys. Stan Van Gundy wasn't lying. He was telling the goddamn truth. And I don't know why people are complaining about this like he was speaking negative. And he wasn't being literal. He was talking about how do you compensate for the things that Zoe can't do. That's all he was saying. Obviously, as Zoe shows the ability to do more, guess what? He gets more. But keep in mind, that works for everybody on the team. If Zion shows he could pass and he could dribble and he can shoot threes and all this other stuff at a high level, guess what he's gonna do? He's gonna demand the ball more. That's just the way the business goes. That's the way basketball goes. I mean, if you think Lonzo should get the ball more than those guys or on the same level as those guys when they're more proven offensive commodities or threats, it's not going to happen. And I'm a Zoe fan, but I just got to keep it real with y'all. This whole Stan Van Gundy is getting crucified by Lonzo stans and Pelicans fans to some degree over some bullshit when, truth be told, he was right. It's your boy Jay Strokes. We got to do better, man.